I'm sure most of us were sitting at home last week gearing up for the NBA draft when the news hit. We had heard rumors of a Jimmy Butler trade for over a year, and when it turned into a deal to reunite him with his former coach Tom THibodeau, who's also the Wolves general manager, it started to make more sense. While the Bulls got talent back in Zach LaVine, Chris Dunn, and the 7th pick that became Lauri Markkanen, it was curious they threw in the 16th pick as well, but in all fairness, picks that late turned into a real crapshoot. So let's dive into the footage to figure out how Butler will transform this Timberwolves team into playoff contenders. Butler's main mode of attack last year was the pick and roll, and a very common action was to set a quick step-up screen on the left side of the floor for him. This allowed Butler to attack early from the outside or to find room to get into the paint and use his strength to bully to the rim. It's not hard to imagine Butler in the LaVine role, getting an early screen from Towns and going to work. Only Butler shoots much better from the mid-range in this area. Butler does not shoot many three-point shots, as he prefers to do his damage in the mid-range, as the Bulls would space the floor and let him attack from out top with a simple flat ball screen. And his ability to create shots for himself and hit them consistently was something the Timberwolves really need, particularly at end of quarter and end of game situations where they need someone to just go get a bucket. The Wolves certainly have this flat screen out top in their package, but they struggled with spacing issues that left the ball handler nowhere to go but a turnover. And it's precisely this spacing issue that THibodeau is going to have to fix by cutting down Jang's playing time alongside Karl-Anthony Towns, since you can see there's simply no room for the guard to attack and creates crazy tough shots. Time and again, they'd run a pick and roll with non-shooter Rubio and Jang, who would be ignored, and it simply did nothing to bend the defense out of shape for easier shots. But now I want you to picture Towns at center and Butler in for Brandon Rush. Look at the space the offense has to operate. They can force rotations and get good shots attacking the rim. When Butler gets into the lane for his floater, he is an elite finisher and will make a significant difference here. If they can play a more perimeter-oriented big alongside Towns, then Rubio will be able to work his magic and set Butler up for corner threes, where he excelled. We didn't get to see tons of motion out of the Bulls' offense when Jimmy scored, but here's the remnants of Hoiberg's weave on the wing, and Butler creates a drive and nice finish off the glass. Minnesota had something similar with handoff action that led to a step-up screen. And without question, Butler can finish these better than anybody on the Wolves can. The most motion you'd see before the pick and roll was a quick swing across the top before the center would headhunt Jimmy's man out top. And you can see how he feasted from both the mid-range pull-up and getting his speed going downhill and blowing by the big man where there wasn't any help, pointing his broad shoulders into the defense's chest for separation before the finish. The Timberwolves run something slightly similar, with the ball getting reversed across the top before breaking into horns, a set Butler used to run often under Tibbs, and should get him attacking and potentially scoring or setting up teammates. LaVine was able to get the ball out of a high post split action, but would turn a lot of these into tough and inefficient long twos. While Butler would get the same action, plus an extra ball screen, and wouldn't stop attacking until he got closer for the long-lost art of the mid-range bank shot that he seems to love. The Timberwolves struggled a bit in transition, ranking 13th despite having some great athletes out there. But adding Butler, who is an elite player in the fast break, will help significantly. Not only that, but his abilities to force steals on the other end directly lead to fast break opportunities for him. And let's face it, easier scores are what the Wolves will need when playing so many great Western Conference teams. While Butler might not be the absolute lockdown defender he once was before becoming more of a scorer and playmaker, he is still extremely intimidating in his stance and can keep his man out of the paint and taking tough jumpers. If he does get beat, he never gives up, something that Tibbs is praying rubs off on his other players as he recovers to smother this Isaiah Thomas shot. Guards like Russ aren't going to dribble him down into the post with the kind of strength Butler has, and in the long run, Butler wins these matchups. He's got great instincts off the ball, knowing just when to swoop in and force steals. And again, he simply does not give up on the play, making countless contributions for his team just when you thought all was lost. And this tenacity is sorely needed in Minnesota. Butler was decent in isolation this past year, as he didn't always have a plan after getting halfway to the hoop, but he certainly proved himself in the end-of-game situations where he wasn't afraid of the moment. He wanted that ball and had no fear taking the shot to keep them in the game as the clock wound down. And he also had a good sense of what a good shot was. In this instance, the ISO on the big man meant that Lopez had a mismatch down low, so a miss was almost like a pass for the score. But Butler didn't have blinders on. He averaged 5.5 assists per game, most on the right pass at the right time variety, as his gravity would suck the defense in and he could find the open man. Nothing fancy or jaw-dropping, just simple, smart, and effective. With Karl-Anthony Towns rapidly becoming a star, adding Butler improves the dynamic of a team by changing its hierarchy. Now, Andrew Wiggins could be the third best player, which is without question his best role. Butler should feel comfortable playing alongside Rubio, who is another version of Rondo, similar court vision and outside shooting issues, and if they can get Towns shooting more threes, they can be more dangerous on the offensive end. While LaVine put up good numbers, it was clear Tibbs looked at his lineup data and realized LaVine simply wasn't in the best lineups he played all year. And adding a two-way player in Butler simultaneously improves the offense and makes them into a much more tenacious defensive team. It will also allow Wiggins to guard the second best perimeter player, and I think a lineup with Rubio, Butler, Jang, and Wiggins in it should improve upon their 27th ranked defense significantly. While the West is still a blood sport, I think this move gets them to turn a corner, and while a playoff spot is not a lock, they will no doubt be in the hunt come April of next year. Sports fans, to see more of our great NBA content and analysis, make sure to hit the subscribe button, but also click the bell and adjust your settings so you can get an alert the second our videos drop, because trust me, you're going to want them hot and fresh. You in?